I'm all set. Harrie, please remember to raise your head right this way so we can see you and we can understand much better this way.
Good, good. Okay.
All right, good.
I came to the conclusion, and I looked also a little bit to the Israeli situation, that this is too big to be handled by one club.
Of course.
It should be a commitment of at least 15 clubs in Albania to support this program.
Yes, I agree. I don't know that we need to 15 clubs as a minimum, but yes, we certainly need more than one. And I would say maybe 5, 7 are a minimum. You're right.
Yeah, this is the figure I will give to my fellow Rotarians just as a way of thinking.
Okay.
The problem, and you will find that in a lot of these former communistic countries, it is very difficult to have what I would say horizontal communication. We see each other from time to time in, let's say, in a national convocation, but there's not much going on between the clubs themselves.
You say this vis-a-vis the question of recruiting clubs.
Well, I'm saying yes, but I'm thinking also, and that is why I want to use Florian Salas, who is the past president, to get at least much more Rotary clubs on board.
Yes, yes.
That is the idea, and he, as a president of the association, will of course also like the idea that he can put his stamp on something which might be even historic, that there is a much more cooperation between the clubs than before.
Excellent.
So what I am thinking, in fact, is a kind of a pledging conference. I'm not sure whether this is possible in this short time of COVID. COVID is rising again, also in Albania. So I'm not sure whether it is possible to have a live conference, or it should be.
Why not? Why not?
Well, I'm shooting for that. I would like to see it like that. We will do also some diplomacy in advance to get at least some people already on board before they enter into that meeting.
Absolutely, very important.
You have to do a lot of missionary work in this respect, but we might also want to have Elisabetta Pozzi, some of the utilities who have an interest, just to also to claim, because my other thing is Amnon, is in fact that this pilot was not able to show the unique capabilities of Hands Across the Water. You have not really worked on teaching teachers to apply the methodology.
You know, partly you are right, of course, because of the short time.
Yeah.
But don't underestimate the achievement and consider it primarily based on the results and the enthusiasm of the students eventually.
Sure, you have made your case strongly, and that's what they hear. They are all, but I think the proof of the pudding is by eating it, and it is how are those teachers going to work with it? Are they able? Are they creative enough, or are they still in an old mold that they follow the rules, and that will be much less successful than we expect? So that is my idea. So I think the first thing is that we have to continue with our 2 schools. I will call Elisabetta Pozzi tomorrow. She's back from holidays to visit the teachers and to learn to their wishes. In fact, what you are all saying, and saying, now, how are we going to take this one step forward?
You're right. And I think we have the following. First of all, we do have a lot of experience including from overseas, primarily from Romania and Poland, who had somewhat more time to interact with the program, so that we know it works, also overseas.
Yeah.
And the question of making it longer is, of course, a much better proof if they have more profound projects and so forth, and also equipment and actual experimentation and actual interaction with the utilities. No question about it. So there is still work to be done in the development, but it is very important to understand that financially, the pilot that we ran was based on the fact that we had a global running in Israel, and so we had something to rely on, and it was feasible to do. We concluded that grant, and we are in the final process of reporting, and we need to hurry up and generate another one so that we can have a basis. Whether we meet all of our goals as set in the documents or parts of the goals is a different question, but we need to get our hands on a grant and have it approved, and then recycling through the recruitment of the funding and all that, it could take a few months. So we need to hurry up in establishing a basic interest by Rotary Club, interest by the district, or the coalition, and an outline program with the water utilities behind us, so that we have some basis and we know where we stand financially. And based on that, we can arrange a plan. And under the umbrella of an arranged plan, although it is not completely approved and financed on day one, clearly it could take a couple of months. But if we have an agreed roadmap for that, for those few months, then we can proceed. And of course, as you said, at least keep the two schools going and support the teachers when they, I would say, initially continue on a project they wanted and make it deeper. And also, as we do it, we can exercise our work with the utility. It is very important to have the Shulka involved with realizing the benefit emerging from the program. Because if we eventually want them to also help in the finances, they really have to work and understand through it. And I think that we have to think carefully about Shulka and the current arrangement that they have, because they have one set of state of mind where they support, and we think we bring a much higher value. It's not just a presence of the utility in school. We have extended presence along the time with relevance to the curricula, to the school curricula. So we are not an extracurricular thing about hygiene and hand washing and basic worry about, which you can spend an hour or two or a few hours. And that is what they do. And therefore they finance it accordingly on a limited scale. It gives them the medallion of being responsive to the community, but it is not as valuable and profound, and as a result, as costly as what we offer. When we want to put this on an economic basis, we're saying, this on one hand, it is philanthropy and we have the Rotary supporting and so forth, but we want to move away, at least partially, from the fully philanthropic approach and say to the utilities, you are in need for deep communication with the community because you need the finances and you need to have support of the public because you need to invest a lot of money in the infrastructure, whether it comes from the citizens or from the EU, it doesn't matter. But unless you make major investment, you will not meet your goal. To make major investments, you need to have public relations in a profound manner. And if you can manage to turn the young generation into your partners, then you have a case, if not this year, next year, when they grow up, maybe in 5 years' time. So what we are saying is, we think, and so far the response in Poland and in Romania primarily from the utilities was very surprisingly positive. They understand what we say, but we need to present it to them and we need to let them experience it. So we need to know what is their goal. If it's, pollution or prevention of the towers or what have you, we need to get deep into what a water reclamation facility is, what it is all about, what is happening when there's too much oil in it, and so forth and so on. And so to bring the children on board, bring the students on board as partners, as future scientists, future technologies, future citizens. When we do that with the utilities, they will get exposure. So we, of course, need to do it with Shulchlab, no doubt, because they have this arrangement. But we need to keep in mind that what we want to do is an elevated level of involvement in the school.
But I think it's good that you mention Poland, Romania, Kosovo also. Those sectors are much more developed than we have here in Albania.
Okay.
What you have in Albania, this is a very small country, but they have more than 60 utilities. And if you look to Romania, probably they also will have less, probably 50 utilities, but covering a much wider. And those utilities are self-supporting. Kosovo also. Most of the utilities here, I'm not talking about 4 or 5 larger utilities, but the remaining are by the end of the year looking who shall we fire this year because we have run a loss. So this is one of the discussions I also want to have with Elisabetta Pozzi. How does she look for the future of this program, also in relation to the utilities? Some of the bigger ones, I can expect that there will be a warm support. They love it, but after 3 or 4 utilities, it will become very silent.
But maybe 3 is enough. If you have 3 that are significant and can provide a couple of tens of thousands of dollars, then we are okay. And we're not looking to make. We're not looking for $100,000. Let's be realistic.
Yeah. So that is that is what I want to discuss with Elisabetta. I think for the time being, I'm looking much more at our Rotary clubs. They are the let's say probably the most important source of income for the coming period. And of course, if you have Rotarians involved, not Rotary clubs, but also Rotarians, you have a side catch because you might have owners of industries who also say, here is something where we would have to invest in.
Exactly. Very well. It could very well be, people that are interested in promoting the education per se, and that can contribute, including, working with the EU. The thing is this, and that's important to remember. Working the bureaucracy of an organization such as the Rotary to get the grants, it is generous and so forth, but I can tell you, personally, from my own experience, having run this program for 3 grants, it is a tedious, very demanding task. Yeah. And it is demanding on the time. This is the most important thing. So by doing that, my time is consumed and we don't use it with the EU and other grant sources that are there and are possible. So maybe what we need to do is look for other sources as well. The World Bank and the USAID and other supporting organizations. We have established our position as a leading Rotary program, but maybe we need to broaden our view and to look at other supporting the potential organizations. And you are right, with Rotarians in the pictures, we may be able to identify them. But the one thing that we wanted to make sure is that we convey the message that we have to have some financial basis for it, because we don't have, another resource to rely on. And if we will have funds coming from Poland, they would want it to be expended on Poland, and so we can spare a little bit on the side, but it has to be somehow self-sustained.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I think you should look around the donors, and that doesn't come overnight. But I will discuss also with Elisabetta Pozzi a presentation of you in the upcoming conference.
Yes, by all means. Yes, by all means. We can.
I think that is attended by donors, so they will have a picture. USA is there, World Bank, KfW, the Danube program, which is funded, I think, by the World Bank and by some United Nations institution. So at least you spread the good news among the utilities, but as you said, the donors are the same as as Rotary. They take a lot of reporting and work, and it's not continuous. They finance for 2 or 3 years. Then you have to come up with a new proposal.
Yeah. Okay, but this is the nature of the beast. We know, but we are proficient with it.
Different sources, but I think if you have a continued source form of financing from the communities, I think then you're off. I think, how does it work with the Rotary clubs in Israel? Are they providing on a regular basis the necessary funding?
Yes, they have for the last 3 grants at various levels, but we had 10, 12 Rotary clubs and 2, 3 utilities and some of the industry companies. We had support from the government earlier. And so, yes, it is, very broad. We currently have in the program of 38 contributing organizations. Most of them, 35 or something, come from the Rotary, and then 3 big companies and so forth. So yes, but as you say, it's a lot of work to sell them the program every year again, and then to report and so forth. But we know how to do that. So, okay,
good. Now I think you have clarified for me a number of things. I will send you. Will be ready in 1 or 2 days. The memo I made for the board of the club is my proposals. This is more in line for what I discussed with you, and
we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I think it's also good to talk about to be clear about the funding. And you broke down in different streams of money.
Right.
I think when I talked to Antonino, he said, "Well, I will be able to get some money from Italian companies, so that is not a real problem. But I think I would like them to use those, what you said, the steam kits. Huh?
I'm not sure I understood what you say. Can you?
Your proposal.
Harrie, I hear you well. I don't see your face. That's my problem. You can see, you can lean back. You just keep your head up. Right, yes, there you go.
Okay. I think what is an expensive investment in your part are those steam kits, running from $5,000 to $20,000. Now that I think could be very well covered by the industry donations, I would say.
Yes, yes.
Then I would look at the Rotary clubs, if they can generate continued funds. And I'll discuss with Elisabetta Pozzi. She is not enthusiastic about donors, because it is a disrupt financing. They have had bad experience with that because yeah, it comes and goes, and in a country like this, it depends. Sometimes a donor leaves the country, and sometimes they move to different sectors. So this is complicated. So she would like to look to a national source of revenues. Now that might be either
More sustainable.
sustainable. Yes,
Right.
yes. So,
Okay, Harry, I understand, and of course it will have to be adopted locally depending on the situation, and we will, clearly work with it. Harry, I have to rush because I have another meeting
Yeah.
that I'm late to. But I think we understand the situation, and we know that it is not trivially as we outlined it, but I'm sure that, with your work and your familiarity locally, you will be able to adapt it to whatever is right for Albania. I mean, clearly it is not a template.
I like your approach. I think but we can also discuss that later. Shookout also already indicated that they would like to be more than a facilitator.
Namely, to be involved in the action doing itself.
Yes, so they could be the driver, but they could also, because they cooperate with the Ministry of Education intensively. We are running with them a program in elementary schools, and that is funded from national sources. So I'll discuss that also with her, how she likes to see it. And
okay, very well. So we can, with them in place, this is the easiest thing. We have a rapport going, we have a communication, we can certainly have this discussion with them. Whatever you feel, Harrie, is suitable to have a conference with the Rotary Club or Shookout or whoever, or with the school, let us know, and we will work accordingly. This is clearly the emergence of sovereignty of some sort, because this is not going to be exactly the same in every country. And we realize, as we've written in the paper, that there will be some independent management of the local countries because they have a unique nature. Here it is a district, over there it's a coalition of clubs, whatever the situation is. We need to be adaptive to the situation, that it is part of a big program, but it is run differently in every place, suitable to the local, needs and culture and practices.
Yeah. Last question, what is the window of time?
See, the window of time is, I would say, something that outermost, is 3 weeks, maybe a month to really get organized. Within a month, we should have an application submitted. We will start to work it out, and we have already indication for others. We have Rotary clubs that want to join, indicated, and so we are starting to do that. We are still focused on putting in the report. We are in the final stages, and that should be finished, I would say, within a week. And that would allow us to start building the new application. So at the outer scheme, we are looking at a month, because when we come at October 1st, which is really the beginning of the school year, because the school year in Israel in September is non-existent because this is high holidays. But in 1st of October, there are
holidays.
6 days of schooling in the entire month. So it's not a working month,
Yeah.
but in October it will get going. So when we move to starting to interact, we want to know at least that there is an application submitted. Maybe not approved yet, maybe in the process, but we have a vision. If we fail to submit an application by October sometime, then we don't have a plan and a basis going forward, and then we will have to be much more minimal because we will have to worry about the finances.
Yeah, okay. Does that mean also that let's say the training of the teachers is also takes place in October, November?
Yes, yes, it will start in November. And by the way, the training, somewhat like what we did, is not like very condensed, intensive for the whole year, but rather a few short lectures, but we then follow up in the coaching of the teacher through the year when they do the research, when they prepare for the event, graduation event, and so forth. So part of the training is on-the-job training along the year. Part of it is up front, and the other part is as we go along. So it's not as if you miss the training, you know, you're sort of missed the boat. There are a few lectures, of course, they will be recorded. So that is not the challenge.
Yeah. Yes, I forgot to mention, I have the impression that you adopt the twinning concept.
That we adopted the twinning concept?
You dropped.
Oh, no, on the contrary. We think it was lovely. There was very little time to actually exercise it, but the feedback we got from everybody was thrilling, both in Israel and overseas. And no, we certainly did not drop it at all. We see a lot of value in it.
Okay, good. Because I think we cannot travel now. Still, we cannot travel. My daughter went on a flash holiday to France, and she imported COVID in the family. So, but it would, of course, be especially, I think, for the teachers.
Yes, yes. And we will do more of it, you know, as Corona, as we overcome, and maybe we will have teachers come to Israel, and we'll have a group of teachers from all over the world. No, the twinning concept is just beginning.
That is what I would like to stress, because I think when you're working with schools where students and teachers can stay with colleagues, it is, well, you know it better than I do, but I have the feeling that is a relatively cheap part of the program.
Absolutely.
You only pay for tickets.
Absolutely. It's very encouraging. And I'm sure that if we bring them to Israel and we show them the antiquities and the cutting edge technologies and so forth and the tour, and they spend a couple of days together, this will be marvelous. So, but there is cost associated and so forth. So when there is Corona, but as a goal, we certainly want to do that.
Yeah, so I don't have any hesitation then to mention it. It's not at the time, but there will be a time when we are back to the old normal, and then
absolutely
is possible.
Absolutely, yes.
Good.
Yes.
Good. Okay, I think we passed the whole review. Thank you very much. Ram, I only heard you complaining that you could not understand me. You're okay?
No, it was, the problem was on my side. Yes, I fixed it, and I heard you fine.
Good. Okay. Now then, I think most people here are still on holidays. We will probably start meeting each other in the beginning of September, and then I think let's take it from there, and I'll keep you in the loop.
Very good.
Of course.
Harrie, thank you very much for all that you do. Without your, deep understanding and presence, it would not have come about. And thankfully, we have people like you all around that are really supporting. This is really just a program of all of us that are, have this in heart. So thank you very much again for your enthusiasm, for your questioning, for your criticism, and your well thought and wisdom. I mean, this is valuable, and it can clearly show, it shows that you have that experience. And thank you very much.
Well, it is for me a very grateful experience, especially when I saw those amazing children participating. Now, hopefully we will have, I will have more the opportunity to mix with them and see how it's actually doing, because it's a very rewarding activity.
Yes.
Thanks a lot.
Right, you're right. Okay, thank you.
Ram, take care, and we talk to each other.
Thank you.
Bye now.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Harrie. Bye-bye.